Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shivam. I'm the CEO and founder of AlmaBetter, and I welcome you all to today's Ask Me Anything session. So, as you all know, this is an integral part of our Learn and Return program that we offer here at AlmaBetter. Every week, a distinguished member from the data science community connects with our students to enlighten them about the real world requirements of the industry. So these sessions in particular are very insightful for our students who are enthusiastic about entering the data science world. So with that being said, let's welcome our guest for today, Mr. Kranthi Mitra Adusumilli. Hi. So Kranthi is currently the AVP of Data Science at Swiggy. As we all know, Swiggy is one of the largest and highest valued online food delivery platforms in India. Kranthi is also an alumnus of IIT Delhi. He further holds a PhD degree in operations research from University of Texas. So Kranthi has acquired a rich hands-on experience by working as a data scientist across a multitude of industries. He has a strong expertise in the e-commerce space, which includes hyperlocal delivery, real-time optimizations, digital marketing, fraud detection, and personalization. So in today's uh, session, he is going to help us understand the real requirements of the data science industry. Hi, Kranthi. Thank you for taking the time out for this session. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks for giving this opportunity to interacting with young folks.
So, before we move on to the AMA, Kranthi, could you tell us a little bit about your professional background?
Yeah, I think you have covered a lot of details in your intro, right? Apart from that, yeah, just would like to add that I think I have been pretty blessed and lucky to be in the right time to be in this field. Because though I started as an operation research person, I moved to analytics during the right time and then had the right problems to solve in data sciences. Also had the opportunity to build small teams multiple times and groom young folks. So that itself was, again, I think, at be it at 24/7, Music Bar, Swiggy, that I think I consider myself blessed having gotten the opportunity to work with data and make some impact.
That's great to know. So, like you just mentioned, you have a huge amount of experience and you have achieved many milestones in your professional career. So today we'll focus more on talking about Swiggy in particular and your role there, and as it would be relevant for most of our attendees. So over the recent years, Swiggy has leveraged data science to increase its delivery efficiency and to connect customers to the right restaurants. So thus, it's unlocking business growth and driving efficient operations. A lot of AI and ML models have been deployed for better fraud detection, personalization, and logistics optimization. So, Kranti, can you give us a brief idea about the daily tasks that the data science team performs at work and how they help in fueling your company's growth?
Yeah, sure. So that's a interesting question. I know most of the aspirants will be interested in knowing what do we do on a day-to-day basis in data science. So first thing, it's about the maturity and the journey of the company too. So right now, the time and place where Swiggy is different, and how we operate with data and data science is different compared to, let's say, 5 years back or 4 years back. So right now we are a lot more structured. So we don't necessarily spend a lot of time in identifying the problem. Otherwise, a lot of the data science effort actually goes in playing with the data and identifying are there other opportunities to solve for. So if any of the aspirants potentially are looking for startup community, right, that's where most of your time would be actually just playing with data and saying, this insight seems interesting, we should build a product around this.
Right.
So that does happen even at Swiggy right now, but the opportunities are less given that the team has been there around for some time. The core focus is on execution and operations excellence, which means that there are models in deployment, like the time what is predicted, right? Whether they are performing as they are supposed to perform, or is there any degradation because of external factors or something else happening in the data. So a lot of time goes in just making sure the models perform well and keeping eyes on the metric, like handling the production system. A
Mhm.
significant portion of the time also goes in improving that. So building the first model is easy, right?
Mhm.
What we don't realize is after that, the improvements to make to that model. Let's say you build some logistic regression or a GPT first.
Mhm.
Now that won't suffice. You will have to go beyond that to some form of neural network architecture and then beyond, and it keeps improving, right? So a lot of the effort goes also in making that incremental jumps and solving the problems by understanding what is the most painful thing for the customer or the delivery executive or the restaurant, right? And solving that very, very corner cases in the models through whatever means. Since you have to understand what is problematic, you have to talk to product continuously and business continuously on understanding, okay, what is the ground problem? If we
Mhm.
come up with the solution, will it help? And
Mhm.
once that I would say once in a month or once in a week, every data scientist has that conversation.
Mhm.
Or 1 day in a week is just spent on collaboration with them. The rest of the time is with engineering teams,
Mhm.
getting the right data, deploying the models, having the integration correct, having the alerts correct. This is where most of the time goes, as well as keeping abreast with latest development, right? Because the field is growing so fast and new architectures are released every day.
Correct.
So just keeping pace with what's happening is a big task.
Right. So I guess, for any organization, this is the next phase, right? So in phase one, you just brainstorm on what problems you need to solve, and once models are deployed, then it's all about how they are performing at scale, whether they are, as you said, whether they are performing as it is supposed to be, or as it was performing earlier, right? So that's great to know from you. So can you talk uh, us through some of the interesting projects that you also may have done? Also, please tell us, our audience, the impact generated through those projects.
Yeah. So I think specifically in Swiggy, most of the projects were very, very interesting.
Mhm.
It's very tough to choose, but um, since I'm an OR professional, right, also, I would like to take this opportunity to talk about how we have combined optimization and machine learning
Yes.
to in an interesting way, right? There are probably this very few opportunities where you can do this in real time.
Yeah.
So what we have, and that has huge impact,
Mhm.
not just monetarily, but also for the delivery executives for the restaurants.
Right.
So the problem statement is essentially which delivery boy should pick up which set of orders
Mhm.
to deliver,
Correct.
right? And this problem gets solved every 2 minutes. So that is the cadence at which this problem gets solved.
Mhm.
To be able to know which delivery boy to send when, you need to monitor where the delivery person is, so the
Mhm.
location, and hence you have to predict the distance
Mhm.
and time it will take for the person to reach and
Correct.
things like that. You have to predict when the food would be potentially ready.
Yes.
You will have to predict whether if he picks up food now will be reaching the promised time. So it's
Mhm.
a series of I would say 10, if not more, models
Mhm.
interacting together, where we are trying to then say, okay, if I assign this executive right now
Mhm.
to this combination of orders, will
Mhm.
it reach in time to the customer? And will the food be fresh?
Mhm.
And is this the D the right person to pick up, or is it like another D? So we evaluate all of these, what we call as costs, right?
Mhm.
Which are essentially nothing but combination of predictions,
Right.
right? Like what is the probability of delay, and then we have a cost for it. And
Mhm.
then you have a assignment optimization, which ones. So we have a commercial software license, but you can use open source also for this. But since we want more, I would say, scale and engineering better latencies and stuff, we have gone ahead with commercial grade license. So, and optimization happens, and then the next cycle happens, and next cycle happens. So it's so the next version or frontier in this problem statement is, can ML directly solve it or AI directly solve it without even optimization happening, right? So one of the areas which is very new in literature right now is, in this area is leveraging reinforcement learning for solving optimization problems. That's still niche. I think by the time it enters the industry, at least in India, I think it might be a couple of more years. Obviously, I think few of the global companies are using it to do some of these. I have heard them in KDB talks and otherwise. But yeah, that was a very interesting problem, and we have gone live, I think, sometime last March, just before COVID. And throughout COVID, we could see, just because we built this whole engine, when COVID hit, we were able to quickly say, okay, give orders to people who are less busy, because these need money, right? Or make sure there is no crowding at the restaurant by changing some weights and patterns. And as COVID reduced, we could keep changing the parameters, tweaking it, and then making changes appropriately, right? So it helped us scale to COVID conditions and post-COVID very beautifully. So there is continuous work happening on this one, and the impact has been in the order of, um, from a CPD perspective, it has been at least a reduction of, I would say, 3 to 4% in the cost. And then it has also enabled to deliver faster. It has also increased the customer satisfaction a little bit in terms of percentage points. I think 10 percentage points or something like that. So all metrics positive, but it was a long journey because we had to implement on the ground and see how things react. For example, certain restaurants, the predictions are very difficult because they start preparing the food only once the delivery executive is there, versus some which prepare much earlier. So accounting for all of this has been very tricky. And accordingly, we had to build in some heuristics or improve the models. And since there was no precedence also in literature to go against for a real-time implementation, it took time. But yes, it is probably one of the interesting projects we have done. The other interesting project, do I have time to talk about another project?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I think the like of our other bunch of other interesting projects, one which comes to mind is how we are trying to uh, build our own maps layer, so to speak, which can help us. Even recently, I think Government of India has made certain changes on open sourcing some of the geospatial data, right? So that's a interesting or an innovative area of work which we have been doing, where essentially the first problem statements we picked up is, can we identify complexes, building complexes, so that we can show the boundary while the customer is joining a new, or we can tell the delivery partner that this is the customer complex. Can we identify parking spots? Can we identify the gates so that we can help? So all of this are not ready-made available, and in the India context, especially if you go to tier 2, tier 3, because even in metro it is difficult to solve, right? For example, most of the time the Google directions are four-figure directions, whereas the driver can drive all around, and we take shortcuts and stuff. So even adjusting to that, we have to build our own intelligence models, layers. Obviously, I would say China and US and other countries the companies have been a little ahead of us in this, but we are catching up, and we are making good progress on maps front. There are, as you said, trust and safety recommendation engines. All of these are also interesting problems and our initial wins. But I would say these two stand out from the other problem statements.
No, I think the first project is a beautiful amalgamation of data science and optimization algorithms, right? So traditionally, we are used to seeing optimization algorithms or matchmaking algorithms having fixed set of inputs,
Yeah.
right? Wherein you have finite things to, you know, you take finite things and then you allot them, right? So but with uh, data science coming into picture, all the inputs that go to the optimization algorithms are itself predictions.
Yes.
That
Yes.
makes it's more interesting as well as challenging, right?
Yes. Yes. So
That's
obviously there is a lot of work to be done, and the team will, I think, will continue to do work. For example, how do you account for uncertainty? Is there a better way to account for uncertainty?
yes.
Right. So that can you predict uncertainty? Can you account for confidence intervals?
Mhm.
So stats come in, AI comes in,
Mhm.
and then optimization. All three have to work in parallel.
Right. And as you said, the next path would be to replace optimization algorithms with RL
Yeah.
based, right? So
That's
I
sometime.
relate to it because I have in my stint at Blackbuck, we were essentially trying to replace the existing optimization algorithms with the RL based frameworks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Right. So I think it's great to know from you about these interesting projects. So could you talk a little bit about the hierarchy and responsibilities that are distributed across different positions in your team particularly, and what according to you is the best part of the job being a leader of the team?
So we had internally something called as personal development plan recently, where every data scientist internalized what they want to do in data science 2 3 years down the lane, how they want to do. And I think similar questions were asked from each. One of the strong answers from everyone why they love our job or why we love our job is
Mhm.
interesting problems to solve and excellent colleagues.
Right.
Okay. Be it engineering or be it data science, it's like we have, even in during COVID times, though it has hit a little bit, but I think because of the problem statements as well as some degree of camaraderie, right? That's what keeps the job very interesting. The problem statement, and you have a bunch of highly talented folks, diverse group, different thought processes to work with,
Yes.
right? The hierarchy, I think, hierarchy is there for a reason. So when we started out, we were decently flat. At some point, I had even like 20 data scientists reporting to me. Right now, we are uh, in the process of starting something called as data science manager role,
Mm-hmm.
since we have become decently big.
Right.
So there is AVP, VP layer,
Mm-hmm.
right, whose job essentially is to interact with the product business and align on the right business problems and be responsible for output or outcomes,
Right.
right? Then we also have a technical ladder, pure technical ladder,
Mm-hmm.
and there you can go up to like a principal architect and a senior architect. Like that, we have principal data scientist, and
Mm-hmm.
after that. So there, the job is to actually look at the technical aspects of these problems and advise the team on leveraging newer algorithms or making improvements, especially when it comes to challenging and new problems, like in the case of maps,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um, so then we have senior staff. There is just a hierarchy, but like we have senior staff data scientist, senior data scientist, and then data science one, data science two, which all of this ranking mirrors traditional
Mm-hmm.
engineering roles, right? But the core is basically we are divided into like pods or streams, right? Like we have somebody working on batching and assigning, a small team working on maps, a small team working on time predictions, a
Mm-hmm.
small team working on trust and safety. So every pod there is a lead,
Mm-hmm.
and he or she has few people working um, with them, right? So if they take the managerial role, they are also responsible for the career growth,
Okay.
apart from the technical leadership. So the difference between, I would say, managerial role in data science versus engineering is you don't need to manage a lot of people,
Mm.
and unlike in engineering, right, where a lot of people have to be managed. But you will have to be responsible for the output and the career growth of your.
That's
The best part is definitely grooming people and seeing them go on to do great things, right? So the way people mature and develop some of the tough problems, crack problems, obviously it's very inspiring, I would say.
right. I guess at the second level, you have some projects going on which you call as pods, and no people in small teams work on those, right?
So the projects are usually short term, right? So when we originally started, we used to be project focused.
Okay.
Pods are more like long term focused. So the each pod will have multiple projects,
Correct.
but they are working on a set of problems associated with the business. For
Got
example, ads would
Mhm.
be a pod,
Right,
right?
right,
Or search would be a pod,
right.
right? So pod, what that helps you do is focus on a problem for long, at least 1 2 years for a data scientist. They can develop expertise in that area,
Correct.
right? And they can make meaningful contributions as well as learn on their own, right?
Right. No, it's great to know, Kranti, from you the hierarchy and how things operate at scale. When the organization goes big, you certainly have to deploy certain mechanisms so that overall as a team, growth happens and people are able to innovate and think about their specific area of work, right?
Yeah.
So that's great to know. So you have been working with data for more than, I guess, 15 years, and
Yep.
have developed models, algorithms that have helped several companies attain faster and better decision making. Right. So what similarities have you observed in the application of data science capabilities across all these industries?
I will talk a little bit on the pessimistic angle than on the optimistic angle,
Sure.
because I think what people fail to realize is there is a lot of heartburn and failures to be endured in the journey. We only see the good picture
Mhm.
usually in talks, right?
Right.
So anywhere, I think in general, the thumb rule I go with, or I have at least realized is 50% of the projects won't give you the benefit you started out anticipating it to be. And that is not because the original premise was wrong or anything. There would be something you missed in problem, formulating the problem correctly, or executing in terms of UX, or understanding the customer, or the business need, or the market conditions, depending upon whether it is B2B or B2C. There are a lot of things not under your control. Algorithm is, and the predictions or whatever are a small portion of it, right? So first thing, failure is given,
Mhm.
and that should be taken always as a learning, and you should learn from the failure, move on. Why it happened, how can we do better? That's the constant thing you should keep in mind.
Mhm.
That is like any field, I think it's true, not just data science. But in data science and analytics, it would be even higher than other fields given the uncertainty. The other thing is formulating the problem is where people usually jump the gun and don't spend enough time. If you spend enough time in formulating the problem, for me, when I say formulating the problem, it's potentially writing it down in terms of this is what we are trying to maximize or minimize while so many conditions are met from in business terms. It need not be completely mathematical, it's just verbal, right? And this is why we are trying to do this problem. So that clarity, talking about those assumptions, I think that again is a very valid first step in every problem where um, usually people try jump the gun and go there.
Mhm.
The last step, which is essentially reporting, monitoring, is the most undervalued step in my mind, right? So if you're working with a client and you say, I'll give you so much benefit, 10% benefit. Okay, what is the right metric? All of that to measure and have the right reporting in place from day one. Again, is a common problem I have seen across. So
Hmm.
reporting, alerting are another common problems.
Right.
Algorithms, data being wrong,
Hmm.
all of that, I think every data scientist will talk about,
Hmm.
right? And 80% data are corrupt or data dictionary we didn't have. All of those are common, but I think those we have come to understand and better systems are evolving.
Right.
Now I think it's time to just address the first and the last.
Right, right. I guess post modeling is something which has come into focus now. Now that the overall data science economy has reached some stage of maturity, right?
Yes.
Time to deploy at scale. So when you entered the data science industry, a lot of sectors were just beginning to deploy data science capabilities, right? So you have witnessed the growth of the use of data science and AI across various sectors of the economy very closely, right? So what according to you are some of the key factors leading to this growth, and how do you look at the future of data science?
So, two parts. One about the maturity of the field, right? So, just 2021, I think Andrew Ng's newsletter talked about
Mhm.
ML ops being the big thing, right?
Right.
I remember when we deployed the first model
Mhm.
in 24/7 real-time decisioning model back in 2013. Then we were thinking about, okay, how do we monitor the model?
Right.
How do we catch errors, right? So for the industry to move in that direction and become part and parcel has taken time, very valid. I see this growth only getting accelerated because now consumers are expecting, uh, especially with companies like Google and Facebook and others doing tremendous things, consumers are expecting the Android should recognize my face, no big deal. It should recognize my fingerprint. It should recognize my voice. What is the big deal, right? So every app needs to now have those integrated, right? So the tech movement by the big techs is pushing the consumer towards ease, and that is forcing others to adopt, right,
Right.
and move. And obviously there is commoditization happening
Mhm.
of tools and everything, right? And the models are open sourced. So I think that is one big thing. If you talk specifically about India,
Mhm.
lot of things, including talking about data privacy, talking about AI stack,
Mhm.
Aadhaar, UPI, right? All of these things coming together,
Mhm.
I think is forming a very good next step, right? Especially agri-tech, whatever we do, the buzz in fintech, edtech, right? So
Uh-huh.
I think it's just the right time
Mhm.
for the field to just show some social impact,
Right.
even in India.
Yes, yes, that's correct. And this is a very good perspective now that I think about it, right? So I think we had a very good discussion centered on data science. So thank you, Kranti, for all the insights. So now let's talk about some of the other interesting aspects. So you headed the data science R&D team at 24/7, where you designed algorithms for web mining and created data-driven products, right? So you have also managed a 10-member team that develop dashboard tools for an online search giant. So my question is with respect to the management skills that industry professionals should develop, right? So we at AlmaBetter focus on development of team building skills amongst our students through some interactive group projects. So according to you, how important are team management skills when working in an organization?
Team management is a loaded term, so I would love the word collaboration.
Right, right.
Soft skills, which includes written, oral, and verbal communication
Mhm.
and collaboration, are, I would say, if not as important as the technical skills, they
Right.
are almost more important, right? So if you have an idea but you are not able to communicate it to your counterpart, uh,
Mhm.
and every person has to figure out what they are good at, right?
Right.
Written or verbal, right? If they're not good at verbal, then written you should improve. If you're good at written, then try to use it, or verbal you have to figure out. But you have to figure out one way and stick to it and keep improving on it, on convincing others why your idea is good and things like that, while being open to criticism. That's
Right.
the other thing I find a lot of youth is takes defensive stand versus hearing what experienced people have to say, which is okay, understandable, young blood, right? But I think that is also very valid.
Right.
So those two skills. Then, in terms of collaboration, there are two things, right? One is collaborating across the teams, and one is if you're managing a team,
Right.
just collaborating within the team.
Right.
So I have been playing an individual contributor leadership role, and uh, I've been double hatting multiple times.
Right.
So in my view, just hearing the people out and
Mhm.
trying to solve the problems in a most amicable way.
Mhm.
There are many, many, many articles and many, many approaches on this. So I won't go into that GAN sessions.
Mhm.
But by just being honest and candid
Mhm.
with each individual and solving their problems is the best way to go forward. And yeah, without collaboration, data science, forget data science. Nobody can progress in their career, of course, unless you are Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or something.
I'm sure they might also be, collaborating on a lot of stuff with other leaders. So, yeah, my next question is regarding the importance of networking and mentorship. So, at AlmaBetter, we believe that during a student's learning journey, mentorship is of utmost importance. So, that is why we organize one-on-one mentorship sessions, every week, where our students interact with working data science professionals from the industry. So, according to you, how important is networking and how does mentorship help young aspirants who are keen to entering this field?
So I think you need technical mentorship to definitely grow, and technical mentorship you will find in the place of your work or otherwise.
Right.
But I think more than technical mentorship, the professional mentorship, right, is what is you have to find a mentor in your life, or multiple mentors, right? Otherwise, who is going to point out that you're right or wrong from an objective perspective whenever you're stuck? It is your mentors who are going to say, yes, you're doing the right thing. Or there is no other approach. So mentorship is very important. I have few mentors in my life, and I mentor few folks also, right? And I see that it's a symbiotic relationship, right? So mentors also benefit because when they're advising, we get our clarity of thought,
Yes.
right? And yeah, it's a very enriching experience, right? It also fulfills a
Right.
void, I would say. Networking, data science is a very tight knit community, right? There are like not, it's not a very big community as such. Now it's growing at a tremendous pace,
Mhm.
but attending conferences, presenting papers, writing blog articles, all of these small things is how I have realized that a lot of counterparts and I myself sometimes have benefited.
Mhm.
Not just from knowing what else is happening, but also what hiring people, right? Or knowing, oh, this is another way of solving the same problem.
Mhm.
But it's very vital. Otherwise, how do you assimilate knowledge? Conferences is how you assimilate apart from talks and stuff.
And I guess you talked about the symbiotic relationship. I guess I can relate to that because now our mentor pool is growing, but we currently have around 100 plus mentors in our pool. And whenever we do meetups, right, so they express that satisfaction that they get
Yeah,
when,
yeah.
and it's not a one way thing, right?
It's
So
not a one-way thing.
yeah, that's totally relatable. So I guess we have reached the end of the session. So as most of our students attending this session are looking to break into this field, so do you have any key piece of advice that will help them further in their career?
Two pieces. One, solve a problem close to your heart in your time. What I mean to say is, let's say you're sitting somewhere
Mhm.
where there is fluctuation in electricity.
Mhm. Okay.
Let's. just random example which came to my mind, right? And that is troubling you. Is
Right.
there anything you can do to predict it upfront by using IoT, for example,
Right.
right? In combination with something on your laptop with a model, SIM monitoring model and stuff like that.
Right.
So just solve, like I heard about this young kid, I think on Google, I saw that there was a young guy who used the image processing open source on Google
Mhm.
to build a small image detection
Mhm.
for his lawn, so that when the lawn would detect that the cat has come into the lawn, it will switch on the sprinkler, right? So just get your hands dirty with true problems, however small they are,
Yes.
right? Because that will give a sense of understanding of end-to-end flow. Don't wait for big bang projects like I want to do so and so in an e-commerce or a startup.
Mhm.
You can start at home. Just look for that opportunity.
Yes.
Second, there is a lot of interesting material out there.
Mhm.
Don't try to reinvent the wheel always,
Mhm.
and participate in Kaggle
Mhm.
or all of those competitions. Keep learning, right? So these will be the two pieces of advice.
I guess definitely, totally, totally agree to the first point. Of course, both these points, right? So a lot of open source stuff to, you can just refer to them whenever you need. No need to reinvent everything from scratch. But the first point is very, very crucial. I guess, it's a very good point made. So it will inculcate the habit of problem solving, right? How you see the world, right? You know, are you becoming a problem solver, by habit, right? So are you inculcating this habit? I
Yeah,
think.
because in the long run, let's say 5, 10 years down the lane, or even 20, AGI is there. Then what are we doing? Essentially, we are trying to problem solve the right problem.
Right. Yes. I guess students should take this key piece of advice very, very seriously in their lives, and I'm sure it will help them a lot. So with this, we have reached the end of the session. So thank you so much, Kranti, for this insightful session. So this session in particular was extremely beneficial and enlightening for our attendees. I'm sure they have proved to be a great foundation for many aspiring data scientists before they venture into this dynamic field. Right. So again, it was lovely to have you here today. Thank you so much for your time, Kranti.
Sure, no problem. There are a bunch of questions which are there in the chat, which I just saw.
Okay.
You guys, whoever has written these questions, you can drop me a note on my email, akranti@gmail, and I'll respond back to these questions. Thank
Sure.
you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Kranti, and I'll definitely do that. I'll forward your email ID to the attendees. Thank you.